Number 5, Dr. No. How did this film get rated so high? This film came out in 1962, for crying out loud. I remember first seeing it as a kid in 1983 after Octopussy came out. It was on like ABC because they would often rerun the Bond films because I think they knew people were watching them. And as a kid, it was like, that was really, I don't think we even had a VCR back then. So that was really the only way I could ever see a Bond film, was that way. And I still remember it being, as a kid, being impressed by the film, even though it was an older film. And a lot of it holds up really well. Now, this was the first introduction we've had of Bond, besides that 1956 Casino Royale, which I talked about, that I really felt like they were really finding the character, but the character had already appeared in so many books at the time. Sean Connery was just wasn't really going through the motions, because Sean Connery, of course, brought this character to life. This is an earlier Bond who was a detective Bond. This was not a Bond who was dependent on gadgets. I think I once said earlier when I reviewed From Russia with Love that was Q's first film, but technically there is a character, I think his name is Major Bonnevoy, who actually is supposed to be Q in this thing. I think that's actually his real name. And he just gives Bond a gun, and it just like replaces his gun and something like that. That's pretty much it as far as the gadgets are concerned. This is a film where Bond takes a hair out of his head and then licks it and then puts it on a closet to see if somebody is trying to get into his closet while he's away from his hotel room. He's a very practical type of Bond. And like I said, I really like the detective Bond. He'll track down a lead and he'll realize hey, something's up with this, and then he'll go back to it, and then he'll do some tricky trick to try and get in a little closer. I like it when Bond does that. I feel like Bond is detective, and he's also he's kind of that guy that goes undercover. And here's the thing, there's by the time we get to the actual thing where we meet our main mega villain, there's a lot leading up to that. We see I think I've mentioned this before, but a lot of Bond films are very complex with their plot lines, and oftentimes the mega villain is trying to keep of course he's trying to keep his cover. He doesn't want people knowing about his big scheme, but there's holes in his plan. There's something that he goes through, he has to kill somebody in order to keep somebody quiet, but the fact that he tries to kill somebody gets Bond to notice this in the first place, and that's what actually happens at the beginning of this thing. Like I said, I've had to look up a lot of these plot lines on Wikipedia to figure out, okay, what is actually going on in this film. By the time we meet the main villain, it kind of makes sense what he's trying to do, and he's actually trying to sabotage the space program. I didn't really know that. I was went oh, that's what he's trying to do with this private island kind of thing? It's well, I guess that makes sense. We were in the space race. Cold War was going on. Yeah, and we also get introduced to Spectre. Number 4, Skyfall. Now, I remember when I first watched this film, I didn't really like it, but the more I watched it, the better it gets, and this is why it is so high on this list. Actually, I know the reason why it's so high, and it can boil down to one thing: Javier Bardem's performance. As the villain Silva, it is so mesmerizing every time he is on screen. It takes a while before we finally see him, but when we do, he is so charismatic and you just are so drawn into his story. And it's very obvious that this film wants to draw parallels between Bond and Silva, something that I think they tried to do in GoldenEye, but I don't really think was done as well as in this film. In this film, we see Silva as a former 00 agent who was sold out by M. And the thing about James Bond world is it is very cutthroat as far as M has to make decisions that will cost people lives. And in this case, it opens up with Bond involved in a chase scene where Moneypenny, or Eve, I guess they call her then, it's not revealed she's Moneypenny until the end of the film, has to take a shot here, even though Bond could get killed. And they think he actually was killed. And yet M has to make decisions like that all the time. And M is a really interesting character in this. And when Judi Dench was M, they really tried to get more deep into that rather than just create this one character who would just be in this office and just here's what you got to do, Bond. And, no, we actually get to really know M in the Craig era, at least the Judi Dench version. And this is her last film. And I really think that Silva and Bond in this film are a lot alike. And you get the feeling if Bond was just simply a trifle bit more jaded, an inch more jaded, he would be Silva. And I think that's makes it super interesting. And and I like the fact that they're kind of stealing a page from, say, The Dark Knight, where the villain wants to get caught so he can implement his plan, which at the end is really just about revenge. That's really what Silva wants to do. He's not trying to take over the world. He's not trying to do anything like that. He's trying to basically show that, hey, MI6 is a bunch of jerks, and I'm going to show you why. And he's leaking information to the rest of the world via the internet that way. That's a great plot line, honestly. And then at the end, it just comes down to a down and dirty fight in Bond's childhood home. That's great. By the way, there's a character here named Kincaid who's a groundskeeper. Originally, they wanted Sean Connery to play that role. Yeah, I know. Wouldn't that have been great? That would have been just awesome. I guess they thought that would confuse audiences here. But Skyfall is a triumph, and it's one of the better Bond films ever made. And I'm glad I get to see it again. So, hey. Number 3, No Time to Die. Yeah, I'm surprised this ended up high on my list as well. But the more I watch it, the more I realize how good of a film this is. And I guess, I mean, honestly, this film has the ultimate gut punch. You thought Teresa Bond's death was bad? Oh, Bond dies in this one. Now, you should already know that, so hey, I know that's a big spoiler alert, but come on. And I really like the fact that if you're going to kill off Bond, you have to make sure that it's a big thing. And I like the fact they introduced the big thing here, that the thing that he's combating is a bioweapon that can be genetically tuned to kill you. That is a great concept for a Bond film, and I think I really love what they did with this concept in this thing. Now, is the main villain, Safin, a worthy opponent? Like, I mean, I really feel like, I mean, they have Blofeld in this film, but they don't make him like the final adversary or something like that. And the way they handle Blofeld, I mean, yeah, I mean, Oh, I don't want to talk about that. But Rami Malek, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this actor's name. I mean, he's a super good actor. He's won an Oscar, and I kind of felt like they got him because they knew he was hot property. And I really feel like he could play this character who is incredible. He's jaded at so many levels. I mean, and I really think it's a good performance, but and it is a performance where he is so closed off that you don't even. Like, you really feel like his malice and hatred have really just taken over him. And he has that mask and stuff like that at the beginning. And I really think that kind of personifies who he is. It's pretty good, actually. And this is the first time we have a Bond girl carryover. Like, the gal from the last film shows up in this, and Bond actually wants to actually settle down with her. I kind of like that idea. Bond is, I mean, he starts out like he's retired. And then, of course, this thing puts him back in the action, which, of course, that's Bond for you. That usually happens a lot, actually, to the Daniel Craig Bond, where he goes like, I quit, I'm back. That did happen quite a few times, actually. So there's a lot of super great action set pieces in this. The private island thing is, of course, a huge set piece. Reminds me of a lot of earlier Bond films. And there's a great finality and conclusion to this. So I don't know what's going to happen to Bond now with this. I don't know, but I mean, yeah, I know. It makes me sad because I'm kind of going like, yeah, you did this great film, but now what are you going to do? Are you going to... The Nami character of James Bond, I don't mind a few films with her if they want to try that. Go ahead. I mean, hey, why not? Number 2, Goldfinger. I loved this film as a kid. I love it as an adult. Has it aged well? Well, I would have to say there are certain things that don't really hold up, but as far as the main villain's plan, I think that's what I really like about this. Now, this was the first time I think that the Bond film really settled on its formula. I mean, you get the opening action sequence, which is not really related to the film in any way. You have the main villain. You have Bond going undercover to fight this main villain. You have the main villain's plan, who has got this room full of this cool little diagrams and stuff like that. It is so Bond. And then, of course, you have the classic scene. Not only at the this film has so many iconic moments in it. Like the fact that at the beginning, the main villain. Okay, now here's the thing about Jill Masterson, this character that was coated in gold paint, like real gold, and then died of skin suffocation. How did they do that? I'm assuming that Oddjob did that. I don't think Goldfinger did that, but I mean, it's like, what do? They put her to sleep, and then it's like, okay, now we're going to paint this stuff on her. okay, now she wakes up and it's like, I'm dying, and it's like, and then I can't really see how they did that, honestly, but it's such a cool moment where Bond wakes up and finds her in this room, and it's like Goldfinger is just basically saying like, yeah, and it's basically kind of a mic drop moment for Goldfinger, and then they meet up together at the golf course, and Goldfinger cheats, and even then Bond is still able to win, and I think that is kind of awesome. Now, when it comes to the plan, actually I remember watching this as a kid being confused by this, but understanding it later. What Goldfinger wants to do isn't to steal all the gold in Fort Knox. What he wants to do is take over Fort Knox temporarily and then detonate a dirty bomb in there, and then irradiating the gold so that gold can't be used. So in other words, he is putting forced scarcity on the market. So the gold that he has, which is quite a lot, is suddenly priceless. That is a great plan. Okay, granted, it's malicious, involves killing a lot of people in order to get that. And surely there probably would have been some sort of serious economic turmoil over that, I imagine. I guess, I don't know. This is a villain's get-rich-quick scheme that is going to definitely backfire on him. Now, as far as the only hole I see in this film is that Bond does turn an ally, that is the pilot character, whose name that I never said before, just kind of turns her, and I kind of go like, okay, Bond's got a Bond here, and I don't know, I kind of think that's a weak spot in this film, but the only one. And number 1, Casino Royale. I don't believe it myself. Did you ever see a film that the first time you watch it, you think like, well, that was kind of good. Then you think like, well, that was kind of good. I think I'll watch it again. And then the more you watch it, the more you love it. Casino Royale is that film for me. Now, this is a film that I did not expect to love as much as I did, and I never expected this to be number 1. But I keep hearing a lot of people, when they talk about the best Bond film, this usually shows up on their list. That and Goldfinger, but I've already discussed that one. And I think the reason why it works is because it definitely takes Bond back to form and really boils him down to who Bond really is. And we get to see not, say, a rookie Bond, but we get to see a Bond who's just starting out in the 00 rank, which I think is a good idea. Unfortunately, I think this film sent a message to Hollywood that reboots work, and technically this film is a reboot, which I kind of don't want it to be, because I think I've discussed this idea that the James Bond could be an alias, so a lot of these things could appear in continuity. And I haven't even mentioned a scene in No Time to Die that shows like a wall of former M's, and like one of the former M's was actually during like the Bond or the Moore Dalton era, and then they also have Judi Dench there, and I'm kind of going like, okay, what are you trying to do with that? That's a nice Easter egg, but it's like, I would like it if that was the case. Like, maybe that is the case. Here we see this Bond here doing his thing, and here's the thing I like about this. There's no big mega villain with world-changing stakes. I really feel like this is where Bond is really best at. Trying hard to figure out how to bankrupt some guy who's going to do worse later. I like that idea. I think that's pretty much all it is. And he's using his skills as a gambler to stop him. And here's the thing, Bond loses. I love that, because I think in a lot of films, Bond became this kind of super spy who never made mistakes. If you watch some of the earlier Bond films, like Goldfinger or Thunderball, Bond actually makes some dumb mistakes. I think in Thunderball, he drops his gun and it goes off. We would never see that in a Daniel Craig era, or the suave Moore and Pierce Brosnan era. We wouldn't see that. But here it's like, this is actually a time where Bond is starting to feel human. We're actually getting to the point where Bond is starting to feel the toll of his work, which I really like, and I'm glad they actually got into this in these later Bond films. And then, of course, at the end, where he just takes out the gun and goes, "My name's Bond, James Bond," and we hear this film, or the Bond theme for the first time in this film. Iconic. It is just kind of awesome. The reason why it's number 1 is because this film is Bond, pure and simple. And I loved it.